Tonight on the show, we have
Healing!
Tonight on the show, we're going to be talking to none other than Ryan Hart. And we will also have a panel on... All right, we're watching Best of 3.
Awesome. Intense.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Best of 3, the weekly FGC talk show shot out of Austin, Texas, for the Daily Dot and for the viewers. Guys, tonight on the show, we're going to start off with an interview. Ryan, the prodigal son, Hart. Ryan, thank you so much for joining us.
It's a pleasure to be here. Thank you for having me.
Ryan, we wanted to have you on the show for a while now, actually. It's, I guess you could say it's a shame that we're getting to you after you didn't make it into the Capcom Cup.
In the wake of my failure, you could say it.
Regardless of whether it's in the wake of your failure or not, you're a guy that's been in the game for a very long time, and you have a lot of insight on it, as well as how the Capcom Pro Tour went. So we have a lot of things to talk to you about. So why don't we start off with the most recent results of DreamHack, where you came in 9th. How did you think your DreamHack went?
Oh, it was terrible. I mean, it's one of my... I've got to say, out of all the DreamHacks I've been to, it's one of my worst performances. And I mean, of course, the guys were all there to win as well. It was competitive, it was exciting. But just personally, I feel I really let myself down. I feel like my training wasn't good. I feel like the way that I played in the tournament in terms of nerves and executing my knowledge and being able to be myself really all went down the sink. And it's just been a hellacious year for me based on a few life changes that I made. And anyone that knows me well enough will have seen the pattern in my progress throughout the year. Probably started somewhere towards September last year, and since then till now it's just been downhill. And that's because I've relocated. I live in a different country now. I don't play like I used to, and so on. So all those things are showing in my play in live tournaments.
So you've been on the bubble pretty much for the entire Capcom Cup and one of the best players out the whole time. Did that factor into your performance in DreamHack, the nerves of not being in yet after entering so many tournaments and such?
I guess, yeah, definitely. Having had such a long road on the path of trying to get in, knowing that this was the last event, knowing that there were no points, so you had to win. Second place would have been nothing, unless Xian was in first, of course. But bar that, I wasn't going to be able to get in. Those things play a factor. Yeah, you definitely are thinking about that during the tournament.
There's some things that we have an interview with Xian later. We shot it earlier today, but he talked about how after he won the year that he won Evo, he worked so hard and he didn't actually make a ton. He won 8 tournaments that year, and he didn't make enough to live off of, and that it was depressing because he had put so much effort into it. That struggle, right? The struggle of wanting to do something but not being able to sustain yourself with it. Can you talk to us a little bit about that struggle? I mean, you're kind of touching on it already.
No, I mean that. I guess that's a separate point, isn't it? That's more about a financial problem. I think that esports and fighting games in general have changed the shape, especially with Capcom Pro Tour. It's changed the shape of how a player can sustain him or herself, not to be sexist, but and I think it offers opportunity for everyone for multiple players to make enough money to live on. For example, the year where Infiltration won the 20th anniversary, I think it's arguable that he's probably the only player who you could say made enough money that year because he won absolutely everything. But bar him, I don't think that the prize pots were big enough for people to actually sustain themselves purely on prize pots. Whereas this year, with Capcom Pro Tour giving out $7 grand for first prize and so on, giving out money all the way to top 8 in premier events, that's definitely offering players a lot more opportunity to make money for themselves. And then if they're sponsored, then they're probably getting a salary on top of that, plus whatever they're doing outside of gaming. So I think the reality of being able to live off of fighting games is more and more real.
Now, Ryan, you mentioned that you made some life changes this year, and that had an effect on your play. Were some of those changes? I mean, could you talk about those changes, and were they financially motivated?
All my close friends know about it. It's just that I've moved from England to Germany, so I don't live in my home country anymore. I moved out here just to I moved in with my girlfriend over here, basically, so we live together now, and I'm away from the gaming scene, basically, because I kind of live in the countryside, and there's not really any. I mean, there is it's just very different to the big city of London, where I would have been, where you have weekly tournaments, where you have sessions when people get together, and I have like better internet connection, so even online is a feasible format of training, and all kinds of things. Everything in my training regime was about playing in London, and the move from London to Germany has changed everything, and the decline in my gameplay has been very, very apparent. So I've seen that it has affected me a lot. In the beginning, I didn't think it would be such a big deal, but it has really changed me as a player, so it's something I'm trying to deal with. But yeah, there are kind of certain limits I have to just accept.
Ryan, you're not hanging it up, are you?
No, not at all. I still love the sport. I enjoy the competition. I still have all the skills I need to win. It's just I need to find a better way of training, something more efficient, something more that's going to keep me as sharp as I need to be to win. Because especially with Capcom Pro Tour these days, like the players are really trying to beat everyone now. Everyone's trying to be the best now, and they're really taking it seriously. And so I want to be a part of that, and it's still really enjoyable for me to play. So I guess that's going to depend on what I can come up with. If I can find a decent way of training, then it's still something that's going to be realistically feasible. I mean, the winning part of it. Yeah, so that's all I can say for now, I guess.
You say you're looking to train further, but it's no secret that your Capcom Pro Tour and everyone who's not in it is over. With SF5 coming out and no knowledge of what games are going to be in EVO, what are you looking to train in for next year?
For now, I'm not going to do anything because, obviously I have my abilities on all the games I've played up till now, but with everything kind of up in the air, like nobody knows exactly what Street Fighter 5 is going to be like, nobody knows what the new King of Fighters is going to be like, and so on. And then the bigger question, are these games going to be main features at EVO? And if not, then what is, and so on. It's hard to say right now what I'm going to be playing, but I'm going to be having I'm going to be keeping a close eye on, how the FGC comes through in 2016. And I probably will give Street Fighter 5 a go. I'm not sure right now because there are definitely mixed feelings going on inside me about the game. And so, it's going to come down to how that game turns out, basically. I mean, it's quite hard to envision what it's like at high level, and that's probably the part of the game that will interest me. So I guess it's going to take some time before I know for sure exactly what I will be playing.
So then as a pro player who, partially makes a living off of the game, is how much you like the game a major factor in whether or not you'll play it, or is it just the most popular game? Because obviously you've been a multi-game player, Tekken, Third Strike, Street Fighter 4, etc. What draws you to a game? Is it just going to be which one you like more or where everyone goes?
What draws me to a game is how deep the psychology is in the game. If I can exercise my mind in a way that's enjoyable and something that gives me freedom to kind of exploit fun factors in how you think with your opponent, the fact that you connect to your opponent and can outwit them or be outwitted. Sometimes it's even fun to look at an opponent's movement and think, oh wow, he really knew I was going to do that. That was cool. That was smart. Those things are fun too. So it's going to all come down to the level of psychology, how deep the game is. Is it fun at high level, or is it just a question of sitting at the back of the screen, pressing a couple of safe buttons and keeping the life lead? I mean, if it's going to come down to being really, really basic, bare bones, then I'm not sure if that's going to hold my interest for long enough. I'm not saying that I'm not pointing fingers in any direction. I'm just saying that there are some games in the past that have been about just doing a lot of less. And sometimes that can not be as fun. But hey, people do what they need to do to win, and I've got nothing against that. But it just might not be something that I find worth my time training in.
And how would you compare that to the current situation going on with Elena, where people are saying that the game is turning into a lot of exactly what you just said?
Yeah, I mean, people want them Capcom Pro Tour points, man. They want to get the money. Elena, I mean, Elena wasn't such a big deal when she first came out, but now people have put more time into her. People have realized that, hey, like, even since the patch, like, her hitboxes are still insane. I don't know what to say about her. I mean, I haven't personally spent a lot of time with her. Like, I've spent a lot of time training against her. But, she's definitely a problem. I mean, she's got so many crazily useful tools. I wouldn't say she's broken. I think she's a very beatable character. But at the same time, she definitely has everything it takes to win any major. So yeah, I can understand if people feel frustrated about her, but it's that same story all over again. I mean, name any fighting game, there's always a character that everyone has complaints about, but you got to ask yourself, like, why would they never? If they're complaining because they want to win, then why don't they pick her and pick her? Or, you know, I mean, because we've had the same situation with so many characters over the years, haven't we? We've had this problem with Akuma, we've had this problem with, like, Vanilla Sagat, or Seth in Super, or Guile or Fei Long in Super, or Cammy in, you know, in Super as well. Most of the really strong characters were in Super, weren't they? Like, Super was just, everyone was OP, right? Bison. But anyway, every version I can think of has one or two characters at least that I can remember people really complaining about. And I understand that, you know, it's not fun to lose to Elena, it's not fun to lose to Yun or Vanilla Sagat or whatever, but if you're trying to win and you're not, you know, like, you're not fussed how you win, then it might be worth investing in one of these so-called easier or cheaper or more boring characters, because at the end of the day, there's money on the line, and if you really think, you know, from the bottom of your heart that this character is broken, overpowered, whatever, then you're kind of making a mistake by not picking that character. If you think you know why this character's tools are too good for everyone else, then it's got to be the right choice.
Ryan, had you picked up and had a nice ironclad pocket Elena, would you have tweeted this out, this image here behind me of you playing Rock Band?
To be honest, I think that multiple characters wasn't a bad thing. You know, I was investing in lots of characters. I was using Abel for a little while, DeCapri, Evil, Ryu, Sagat, as you all know, Yun, Yang, etc. I was going across the board for a little while. And it's not because Sagat is too weak to perform at high level, as Bonchan has clearly demonstrated. No. It's more to do with the fact that I just wasn't feeling... It's also partially because I wasn't able to get as much out of Sagat, but also because he probably wasn't as enjoyable for me to use because I'd been using him for so long, and I kind of wanted to do something new. So when Ultra was new, I used DeCapri for a little while. She was fun for a while. And I had a time where I used Rolento for a little bit. And I think I was trying to find my feet, and no matter who I picked, I just never really got to a place where I was really comfortable with any character. And it was difficult for me. I don't know why Elena didn't come across my radar. I just didn't think that... I think it's the same thing. I think she didn't feel that interesting either. I think I did try her a little bit. It was really boring. She's really easy to pick up, by the way. She's so easy to pick up, and you do kind of find yourself rinsing and repeating, which is probably really effective if you're trying to win a 2 out of 3 match, right? But I thought there could be more for me. So I picked up Evil Ryu. The combos were difficult. He was kind of he's projectile heavy, which is what I'm good at as well. So he had all the things that suit me. I like being able to rush down. He has the speed, he has the agility, he has the damage. So all those things there like made him a good character for me. But I think I picked him up a bit too late into the year, and that played a part in me still not getting to be 100% comfortable with him. So, yeah, I don't know. But to the Elenas out there, they need to be getting on with it, man.
You said something interesting to me, which is that, you know, if someone wants to win, if someone wants to make the money, they should pick the better character. In shooters, people pick the best gun. In sports, they take the best equipment. But in fighting games, it really hasn't gotten to that point. People are still picking favorites and doing stuff like that instead of, you know, picking the optimal route to win.
I think each to their own.
No, totally. But do you think that it will drive towards what you're saying in the future? Because, I mean, I'm totally in the same boat, but it's just, do you think that the money will lead us towards a, you know, less diverse character pool?
Oh, yeah, I definitely do. At least among the serious players, it definitely will. If I say, hey, let's play a 2 out of 3, you know, I'll give you 6 months, and in 6 months we'll meet and we'll play a 2 out of 3 for fun. Or in 6 months we'll meet and we'll play a 2 out of 3 for $5 million. Imagine you gave someone that offer. I'll meet you in, you know, you went up to an already good, established Street Fighter 4 player and said, I'll meet you in 6 months, and if you can beat me 2 out of 3 for a 2 out of 3 set, I'll give you $5 million. Do you really think they're going to come with Dan? They're not going to come. Yeah, they're not. If they know that you're good. Or, you know, maybe we could up the antes. Like, we could say they have to beat Xian in a 2 out of 3. If they can beat Xian in a 2 out of 3, they get $5 million. wired to their account that day. Like, they're going to think hard about character selection. Character selection is a thing now. It becomes a part of the strategy now. It's no longer, well, I'm a Zangief player, and even though I know he mains Sagat, I'm going to do my best. No, it becomes more than that now. It's who beats Sagat now. Character selection is part of the battle strategy, but people don't think about it like that. But if it's about winning, which is what it's becoming more and more about, then that does become part of the thought process in thinking about how you're going into the match. Am I picking the right character? That's the first question you ask yourself. Because if you're not picking the right character, no matter what tactics you got, not that you can't win, because you can. Theoretically, in theory, like, the win can be had. But the probability of getting that win is going to be less if you're using a weaker character, or if it's a bad matchup, you know? Now, I understand if it's one of those situations where, like, it's not really a bad matchup, but you might be in a 4.5 situation, okay? That's not a situation where I would say someone has to change their character. But if you're going into a matchup where you know the match is clearly downhill, you know, and unless you get this one massive opportunity going, you've got no chance of winning, then if it's for big money on the line, I definitely think you're going to see a lot of top players changing their main characters or coming with some other kind of strategy to overcome that. Because just going in hoping for the best with your main, whoever that is, might not be the best way to win the money.
You know, you mentioned, and on paper it makes perfect sense. The more characters you can draw from, the more likely you are to be able to, you know, deal with any kind of matchup. But I know you as a Sagat player, and let's look at a guy like Bonchan, who's a character loyalist or a specialist and only uses Sagat. He made it to the Capcom Cup. I'm not trying to compare you guys and say, oh, well, he could do it, why didn't you? But do you think that a guy like him is at a severe disadvantage, or is he doing something that other people aren't?
I think that he's a very hard worker. I think that he could do what he does with Sagat with another character as well. I just think he's a very talented player. You know, I don't think that it comes from Sagat being really good. You know, I've used Sagat long enough to know that to win with Sagat, you need some skills. So he's definitely a crazily talented, definitely a very, very skilled player to be able to bring Sagat that far, especially on Ultra. So it leads me to believe that possibly he could do that with, you know, with any character, or maybe he just has a really strong affinity with the character. He's gelled really well with the character, and he's able to make these results happen. But I wouldn't say he's at a disadvantage just having one character per se. But I mean, if you come up against someone like Infiltration, it's going to be easier for him to train for you than it is for you to train for him. And those kind of things, if you're going up against someone in a short set, you're going to be at a disadvantage. Like, you've seen that happen time and time again. Okay, Bonchan has beaten his Goken, like, in more recent times, but it hasn't been easy. And he's lost to him a few times over a few years. So if you count all the wins and losses together, the guy that had the multiple characters to choose from ended up winning more than the guy that just had the one character that was easily counterpicked. Sure, he's a strong player, talented, hardworking, so he overcomes that, but like we said earlier, the analogy earlier where you had the best of 3 for 5 million, in that scenario there, a player like Bonchan would be at a disadvantage if he was up against someone like Infiltration, who's arguably of the same ability but has so many more different fruit to pick from the tree. You know, he has so much more available to him that he can kind of swing the advantage towards his side.
All right, I'm gonna bust your balls here a little bit, Ryan. Let's talk. Let's go back in time a little bit to Canada Cup.
Okay.
You versus Snafu.
Oh no!
Can you tell us? Can you tell us what happened here?
I can, but this is the thing. Like, what's difficult about these sorts of things is whatever I say just sounds like an excuse. But all I'm trying to do right now is you've asked me a question, so I'm trying to answer it the best way that I know how. Okay. The best answer I could probably say is he played better, so he won. But the reason behind him winning for me, or the reason behind my bad performance, is one, my Yan was completely rusty. As you can see, you'll see in certain situations, like some of the choices I make are so just, not Hail Mary, but there's been minimal thought given to that choice of move, and it's just probably me, you know, just not sure what to do, so probably thought that doing something is better than doing nothing. maybe ended up running into something or doing an unsafe move and so on. So I think that this set that I lost is obviously Snafu playing sick as well, but me not doing what Yun is supposed to do. I don't think a Yun is ever supposed to lose to a Yun on any version of SF4 Ultra. Like he shouldn't lose. If the Yun loses to Dalsim, the Yun is doing something wrong. That's what it comes down to. And I'm not taking anything away from any Dalsim. Snafu, Arturo, whether it's YHC, Mochi, like Dalsims are sick. You know, he's a hard character to play. Let's be real, okay?
Yep, for sure.
But Yun just beats Dalsim. He just beats him. So I played really bad to lose to Dalsim, and I think I was winning. I think I had like
you got a perfect on him at
rounds
once
straight or something.
Yeah.
And then it all fell apart. Yeah. So that there, even that, the fact that I won 3 rounds straight and then it all fell apart is me kind of crumbling there, you know. And if anything, I think I would say I lost to myself in that. So I don't think I lost to this. I mean, I did like visually lose to Snafu and Dalsim, but mentally, I don't think I lost to Snafu or Dalsim. I think mentally, I lost to myself in the knowledge that I'm rusty and in the knowledge that I shouldn't be getting hit by certain things that I am getting hit by and so on. And the longer the match went on, the more that played into Snafu's favor, and you saw he went away with the victory at the end. So, you know, shout outs to him, and we have great sets. Like, we've been playing each other on every version over the years. Normally we play Sagat Dalsim, but I've switched to Yun for this tournament because Yun's an easier pick. Kind of wish I'd picked Sagat and just done. I probably would have done better with Sagat. But yeah, and that can happen. But you know, I think this is a good example of what it means when, you know, players train for so many hours a day and so on. You would think that, well, if a top player, or you know, if a skilled player's, you know, like knowledgeable, then that knowledge is just going to carry on. No, if you don't keep playing, if you don't keep practicing, those things go. You forget things. There's so much you need to remember in every single matchup with every character that even in a possible 7-3 matchup, you still have to be in shape. You have to have the matchup to hand. I hadn't played a Dalsim for such a long time as well, so you know, there you go. But like I said, it's just what happened.
So
and,
for you specifically, then, living in Germany now, do you think you can maintain a bunch of characters, or are you going to have to narrow it down at this point?
I'm definitely going to have to narrow it down. If I want to keep it high level, I'm going to have to narrow it down. Yeah, that's how it works. You know, I mean, if you have lots of players to play with, you can play the field a little bit and test things out here and there because you get that frequent training. But once that goes, then yeah, you have to narrow it down.
Carnage, I'm sorry, I'm going to change the subject by bringing up
Cool.
a couple of things from Carnage here. Carnage is somebody who's usually in our chat.
Yeah.
And he said he had 2 things to say. One is that he's sad that such a smart guy is not at the Capcom Cup. So that's just a shout out to you. The second was he wanted to know, Carnage wanted to know how you learned Japanese and became so fluent with it, and to the point you can even write it.
Well, I learned English. No, I'm just kidding. I learned Japanese. Yeah, the whole Japanese thing, I never planned to learn Japanese. I never thought, yes, I'm going to have Japanese as a second language. It just something that stemmed from, obviously, video games. You know, the interest stemmed from video games. Then, in the very, very beginning, I had a few good friends that lent me their Japanese textbooks that they weren't using. And I started to learn grammar, I started to learn vocabulary, and there were a lot of Japanese guys at the arcade who were over in England as exchange students. So I used to ask them to teach me words, and I used to teach them some English words, and the whole thing began then. That was, you know, the basic thing. And one day I won a tournament and got to go to Japan. And when I went to Japan, they treated me so nicely there. I was so touched, and they really looked after me like I was one of their family, and they didn't know me from Adam. So I was really taken back by that. And so when I went back to London, I studied Japanese, and I went back there 2 years later to say thank you, and I brought them loads of presents and gave them back money that I'd borrowed, and like I was in such a state at that time. But yeah, I was so grateful to them. I was really touched, and that changed my life. And then when I got a job in Japanese, then I learned business Japanese, and so it kind of all happened in steps. It wasn't something that just all came together at one time. And yeah, that's how I learned, really. Okay,
Ryan, moving on. I told you that I wanted to talk a little bit about your history in, and we're going to use the term esports, right? You are the first sponsored fighting game player. First of all, how did that happen?
Well, it was way back when. I think
In 5 words or less. No, just kidding.
Yeah, sorry. I'm sorry that my answers get a bit longer.
I'm just teasing. I'm just teasing.
But yeah, okay. So yeah, late 90s. I used to play arcades again. An arcade called Namco Wonder Park. I think it had like 3 floors and all the fighting games you could imagine. And the staff it all began when the staff in Wonder Park realized that if I stayed on the machine, I would make them money quicker than if everyone else played the computer. So they started paying me to play for free. But back then it was very low level sponsorship. You know, you get free games on the arcade. They'd pay for your little travel card to come down to central London, and used to get like free meals locally in all the local restaurants. So it's kind of like now where you get, you know, salary or you get your hotel and travel paid, but just on a lower scale. So they'd have me basically sit down on the Virtua Fighter cabinet and just beat everybody all day, and they'd make loads more money because people would play much quicker. And then I'll do the same thing on King of Fighters, I do the same thing on Tekken, do the same thing on Street Fighter, and that was something that they enjoyed watching me do. And that was the first step. So that was the Namco sponsorship when I was like 18. And then after that I got sponsored by Logitech, which was just there was no money payments involved. It was just equipment. You know, I used to get like hats, Logitech jackets, and then obviously all the PC peripherals as well. So I'd have like mice and keyboards and so on, and that was it. So yeah, those are my very, very first sponsorships.
And now you're sponsored by Falcon Arena, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes. Yes.
And it's been a long road from the arcade to Falcon Arena.
Now,
I mean, you were signed by Mad Catz at one point.
Yeah.
How have things changed? I mean, it looks like next year is going to be a big year, at least for Street Fighter, where Street Fighter is concerned. But as far as, you know, the esportsification, which is a term I know they love in the chat, of the FGC,
Yes.
where, do you like that it's headed that direction? Do you have any concerns? Do you have any thoughts? Anything you want to share with us about that?
I mean, yeah, it's definitely been a long road for me to get from there to now. I didn't know they would get there, we would get here, and I think for me the difference now is it's not just playing for yourself. Like even back then when I was sponsored, I was still just playing for me, sitting on the arcade, not without a care in the world. Whereas now I'm playing for my sponsor, I'm playing for my fans, my supporters. I'm playing, you know, you're still playing for yourself, but there's definitely a whole lot more going on, and that's what's different now compared to before. With regards to what's happening, I think it's great. I think the movement is awesome. I think the way esports is getting so much more attention is a good thing, and that also helps Street Fighter too, because Street Fighter is kind of seen as an esports game, even though it's not on exactly the same level as the bigger games, you know, your Dota 2s, your StarCrafts, etc. So, but it's still great though, because it gets featured. Like it's at DreamHack, for example, which is a big esports event, you know, the world's largest digital festival. So always good, always good. I think next year's going to be even bigger, better. I'm really wondering what Ono is going to announce for next year's Capcom Pro, so I can't wait.
Are you talking about really prize money? Is that what you're just talking about? Like how much money they'll announce?
Yeah. You know, it's obviously going to be Street Fighter 5. And then, yeah, what's the prize money saying? And is he going to unravel some more information about Street Fighter 5? Like those things there, I want answers to those questions, you know. So yeah, so that's exciting, and I think that will definitely put people in the motivation chair for next year, because once people hear like, yeah man, 2 million first prize for next year's Capcom Cup Proto, like what game, that's all people want to know, because whatever game there is, they're going to train up. So I'm just worried that my only fear, it's not really a fear, that's too much, but if Street Fighter 5 is really coming and Capcom Proto is going to be all about that, it would be a little bit sad for me if Ultra completely dies, just because of how much I've worked on it. And that goes for all the top players, you know, just for how much time they put in, how much fun they've had on it. It would be sad for it to immediately die. Obviously, over some time, I can imagine that it will phase out, but I wouldn't like for it to just completely disappear straight away with the announcement of the SF5 Proto, you know, because people knowing that 5 is all that's going to matter at the end of the year might make them ignore Ultra, but I still think Ultra has a lot of life. I mean, I know Eleanor's here and people don't like Eleanor and so on, but it's not like the people that don't like Eleanor would be winning if there was no Eleanor. Most of the people that don't like Eleanor are people that are not winning anyway, and they just moan about things. You know, most of the time when I've noticed that players complain about characters, it's not the players who are actually participating, it's more the players who are seeing what happens, they're watching. But I guess that has to be catered for too, because the spectators are really important as well. They have to enjoy it. It's a show at the end of the day, isn't it? Like what we're going to watch next week, we're going to watch a show, Capcom Proto. So the spectators are just as important too. But what I mean by that is sometimes when you're just watching, you can't see that sometimes a character does have holes that just no one's exploited yet. There are ways around the character, and it's just sometimes it takes time, you know? I mean, we always used to hear complaints about Seth, but now he's more or less a standard character, and people still don't like him, but he's very beatable, you know? And so, I don't know. I just think that maybe we should give it a bit more of a chance, a bit more time, and see what happens.
It's had 9 years. You're going to ask...
No, I mean Elena.
Oh, gotcha.
Maybe she just... No, actually, what am I talking about? She's just cheap. Sorry. No. Elena's just cheap. Sorry, everyone. Yeah. I just remember. You know why I said that? Because I just remembered Luffy. I don't know if you've seen it. Luffy does. Right, you can check it out. Yeah, DreamHack. Luffy does standing hard kick. Yeah, and from the back of the screen, Elena was on the other side of the screen eating ice cream. She just does crouch medium kick, EX mallet smash, and it just links like, and then he gets there. I think that was the end of the game. She was over there on her mobile phone. She didn't even see the kick. She just saw it, tagged Rose's high heel, just clipped her, and she died. Like things like that. Things like that are a bit cheap because she's all the way over there, out of the range of anything you could possibly do. You can't fire because she can do, like, you know, she can do the EX and go through, she can do Ultra, and so on. So, yeah, okay. Yeah, anyway, so you can. Oh, she can slide. She can slide as well. Yeah. She's got an answer for everything.
She does. Anyway. Even for losing life.
She gets healing.
Yeah,
actually, healing is a bit of a skank.
Danke has a question for you, Ryan. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Danke.
Cool.
It's all right.
Now you've got me into Elena mode. Why did you do that?
Sorry, man. We're all getting triggered by Elena.
I was just wondering that you said that with Street Fighter V, you're worried about missing Street Fighter 4. As someone who's been around before Street Fighter 4, did you feel the same way about Third Strike or any other games that you kind of took off from to start playing for?
When 4 came out, I have to admit, I didn't like it because I didn't know it. And what put me off is knowing that it doesn't have parries. Playing Street Fighter 3 for 3 years had got me so accustomed to being able to parry that I was so used to that as long as I can read what they're doing, I can create a game plan. And I really got used, I really enjoyed that. When Street Fighter 4 came out and there was this press 2 buttons and do this focus attack, what's that? Why can all the characters do it? Why does it look the same? Like I didn't know what to make of it. But focus attack has actually become a very interesting point of how we play the game. You know, there's different ways to use it. Now we also have red focus as well. So, you know, they really built on that, and I do enjoy it now. But the difference with me and other third players who stopped playing because they didn't like 4 is, even though I wasn't sure what I think of the game, I always gave it a chance. I always went to Street Fighter 4 with a blank canvas mentality and thought, I'm going to try this game and I'm going to forget that it's not, because at the end of the day, when a new game comes out, you have to think that it's not, you have to know and remember that it's not what you used to play. You know, a lot of players make the mistake of when a new game comes out, they'll judge it based on what they've played before. But it's not that game, so obviously it's not going to be the same. You know, they'll be like, it should have this, and it should have that, and it should play like this, and this character shouldn't have that. That's too good. But instead of that, just play the game how the game's telling you to play it. Don't tell the game how the game should play. The developers obviously had their own creative vision, so give them a chance. And I think when you start doing that a bit more, a lot more games come to life in an enjoyable way. And a lot more games, you know, you get to realize that a certain game's not for you quicker as well. So a bit of both. You know, as long as you just take the game for what it is, you'll know if it's for you or if it's not for you quicker than if you don't.
Ryan, unfortunately, we're running out of time for this interview, but I have one final question for you, and I hope you make it a saucy answer. Who's going to win Capcom Cup?
Oh, not that one. Any question but that.
I mean, you played against a lot of these guys throughout the season.
I played against probably all of them, yeah.
You need to give one name.
Or Problem just X tell us Problem X is going to win? Oh, Problem man, that X is such a biased answer.
All right. And if Problem X doesn't win, then Infiltration is going to win.
I was going to say, you could also tell us 31 people that won't win, but tell me why you think Problem X will win.
Problem X is going to win because he's not someone that people are really looking at. Everyone's looking at the Daigos, the Momochis, the Infiltrations. They're looking at the heavy hitters, right? Problem X is going to come because I've played him long enough to know that he can beat anybody in that tournament. And he's going to come from under the rug. People are not going to be expecting anything, you know, and he's just going to be up there. And people are like, what? Winners final? Who's this guy? You know? And yeah, we'll see. Watch.
All right. Well,
Because he's got the characters, he's got the smarts. He's a smart guy. He knows what he's doing. He knows how to create game plans, and he's got the skills. So let's just see what happens.
Well, we're going to hold you to that. We'll have you back next week and we'll decide whether or not that worked out. Ryan, before we let you go, is there anything that you want to mention? Plug your Twitter or your site or anything like that?
Yeah. For anyone who wants to follow me, my Twitter is @RyanJosephHart. My website is ryanjosephhart.com, and my Facebook is facebook.com/RyanJosephHart for my fan page as well.
Ryan, thank you so much. It's 1 o'clock in the morning, or I guess it's 1:42 in the morning over there now in Germany.
In the morning, yeah.
And we really want to thank you for...
I've got to be up at 7, but it's cool.
I'm so sorry for that, man, but we appreciate you making the time.
I actually didn't mean that. It's been great to be here. Thank you for having me so much.
Well, we'd love to have you back on anytime. Ryan, thank you so much again for being on the show, and you'll be watching the stream along with us this Sunday.
Yeah, I can't wait. I'm so excited. Almost every single match is going to be hype. I really can't wait.
All right. Thanks again, Ryan. Talk to you later.
See ya. Bye.
What do you think?
I mean, very well-spoken guy, obviously.
Certainly very well-spoken, and of course that was echoed in our chat. A lot of people were like, "This guy's so smart. This guy, is so eloquent. This guy's putting his thoughts together in a way that, is that uncommon?"
I guess in the fighting community, I don't know. But as I said, the thing that really struck me is just his his drive to win. Obviously, he said that losing practice really hurt him inside. That going to Japan led him to learn Japanese, and that picking the best character is just a necessity in winning. And I think that's an attitude that kind of needs to be with you at the top of Street Fighter 4 or whatever the most popular fighting game is. If everyone's going to be playing at that level, things are going to advance faster and it's going to change.
I'm not going to give away what Xian said in the interview, but he echoes that sentiment. So we're going to move on. We're going to be joined by our usual panel of AceKing Offsuit, Steve Jurek, writer for the Daily Dot, and all-around badass, and recapper, and the very special birthday boy. We didn't forget, buddy. It's Velociraptor's birthday today, guys. Can I get some shout-outs in the chat? Welcome to the show, gentlemen.
Thank you for having us.
John?
Yeah, what he said, yeah.
John, what the hell are you doing on Best of 3 tonight when it's your birthday?
I'm in the middle of a work shift, man.
Fair enough. Guys, we have a couple of topics we want to run through today. We're going to start off with Smash because it was a pretty hype weekend. Guys, I never thought it was going to happen. I'm really getting into Smash. Melee and Smash 4. And our boy Ian has cut a little video for us to catch you up on anything you missed about Smash. And here it goes.
DreamHack Smash had it all. The good.
Great
save by
save.
MacD. The bad. And the ugly. Oh. I'm Ian Barker and this is the Quick Cast. DreamHack promised a lot of action this weekend with a huge doubles prize pool, some heavy hitters in singles, and a money match to remember. Fortunately for fans, most of their excitement was rewarded. In doubles, Shroomed and MacD logged a surprising upset over Armada and Android to send the Swedes packing. I couldn't come up with a joke about Sweden, so consider this picture of ABBA my formal apology. While the Princess duo looked solid in the losers bracket final, it was the Pokemon show in the grand final where Axe and Hungrybox took the 3-1 victory. Pikachu hasn't looked this OP since the first season of the Pokemon TV show. Newsflash, you can't electrocute Diglett, Japan! When doubles was done, Leffen and SFAT had a score to settle. In case you missed it, here's a quick recap of the $1,000 money match.
Stop! Stop! He's already dead!
While Leffen walked away with third place earnings, his run in the main event didn't go quite so well. TSM's Swedish ace lost 3-1 to Westballs before falling to Samus player Duck, finishing outside the top 8 for only the second time this year. In a shocking development, Leffen was not salty after the loss. More on that as it develops. Plup made headlines shortly thereafter by ending Westball's reign of terror, but it was the Hungrybox Armada matchup that turned heads in Jönköping. After meeting once again in the winner's bracket, Hungrybox pulled the stunning 3-1 over Armada to book his place in the grand final. Armada battled back to earn the run back, and things looked grim for Puff when the Swede reset the bracket in a quick sweep. However, Hungrybox held strong, earning his first grand final win over Armada this year. The emotional Liquid player had this to say after the win.
My dad just passed away, It was my biological dad, and I know it's personal stuff, but he told me, you'll never be the best. You'll be good, but you'll never be the best. So I hope he sees me now.
Enjoy the video? Hit that subscribe button. We really appreciate it. Follow us on Twitter, like us on Facebook, and catch us live on Twitch.
Well, it looks like from the chat, you're probably the only one excited about Smash, Efren.
Yeah, maybe in this chat. But, you know, part of what got me really was that Hart, right, from Hungrybox. We've had Hungrybox on our Smash show that airs on Thursdays for all you Super Smash fans out there. And I mean, did you guys watch this, any of this? It was a big deal that Melee was even at DreamHack. It was a bigger deal that Hungrybox beat Armada. Did you guys catch any of it, and did you catch the interview afterwards?
I saw that he was in tears, and it was such an emotional thing, and especially because his biological father just passed away, and it was almost the stuff of movies at this point. Your dad says, "I love you, son, but you're never going to be the best," and then dad passes away, and then he wins this huge tournament on foreign soil against, you know, the guy that took it all recently and is like the biggest competitor, and he takes it all. It's a Cinderella story, and I hope dad's looking down on me right now, or I hope dad sees me right now. Are you kidding me? Get out of here. Like, everybody's going to cry to that, you know? So there was certainly a lot of emotion involved with it, and I think that's what turned the most heads, even from outside of the Smash community.
Absolutely.
It's interesting to me because it's like you see Daigo and Fudo win Evo, and it looks like they're going to just drop the trophy in the trash afterwards. Like, they just don't care at all. Like,
yeah.
Such a different mindset. It's such a different community in terms of the drama at the top.
Chat
and
agrees.
we've talked about that. We've talked about that as on the Smash show and on this show. It just seems like there's a lot more player-to-player interaction in Smash Brothers, and it causes these moments. And obviously, this was a personal thing rather than that, but the drama in that game is just off the charts.
I was impressed. My first real in-the-room interaction with Smash was at EVO this year, and I was hearing people boo Hungrybox for the way he was playing, and I was like, what the hell's happening here? In the same way that you can't argue that Elena shouldn't be in the game, you can't argue that his playstyle shouldn't be in the game, and I thought it was foreign to me. But ever since then, I was hooked on Hungrybox, and we've had him on a couple of shows, and he's a super cool guy. So to see him do that and be so emotional, I think it's just genuine, to a degree inviting, right? And I thought it was impressive. How do you guys? Any other thoughts before we move on? There was the Leffen Money match. There was teams. There was all other cool things that happened. But to me, the highlight was definitely Hungrybox.
Yeah, people love to have a hero, and like we were talking about earlier, when you associate that emotion with it, absolutely. Like, and that's one of the things that I hope that we see more of. Like, it's great that we have people like Daigo and Infiltration that just get up there and they do their thing, and they came in with this stone face and they left with the stone face, and it's like, all right, well, we'll get hype out of your play, and that's enough. But when you can have the play, and then you can also have this real life person that you can relate to with all the crying and laughter and all that stuff, that takes it to a new level. And I think with where we're going, people are going to want to see those, especially when I say people, especially like sponsors are going to want to see those people that have those emotions, that have those reactions, that can be heroes that people can get behind in that specific way. So good job to Hungrybox, and I'm glad that people are kind of rallying behind him right now. And yeah, you're making it exciting for all of us. Thank you.
Mike and Murdoch in the chat says, man, that one time Momochi blinked, so hype.
Right?
But, okay, I wanted to talk about Smash because I thought it was a legitimately exciting event, and a lot of cool stuff happened, and that scene is growing a lot and getting a lot of attention, as it should. And I'm one to blame because I haven't always been on that train. But let's talk about the other fighting game tournament that happened at DreamHack, which was, of course, Street Fighter. Xian took it. Or Elena did. Let's just start off with Elena, guys. What's going on with Elena? Is there ever a reason to ban a character?
Is there ever a reason? Maybe. Is Elena one of them? Certainly not, in my opinion.
Well, what's the argument for it? Okay, we're asking this question, should she be banned? There's got to be some pretty big, cold-cut, black and white reasons as to you go, she does this, and she does this, and that's breaking the game, that's making the game unplayable. Those are grounds for banning someone.
Hard to hit, can heal herself.
The question, I think, that normally comes in from banning, it's never been fun, because Brawl had the whole Meta Knight banning discussion, and they eventually banned double Meta Knight teams in teams because it was literally the only team that could compete. And before that, it wasn't really much of a spectator sport, so I guess they were doing it for the fun of the game. Is there ever a real concrete reason to ban something? No, that's something set up by the community. So yeah, you're totally right. I don't know when the grounds to ban someone are, but Elena hasn't exactly completely dominated the Pro Tour, and I don't think she over-centralizes the metagame to a level where she's the only character. I mean, people say Sagat beats her, people say Poison beats her, and sure, she has a host of incredible matchups and is a ridiculously unfair character in many, many ways, but there are so many other fighting games currently out that have characters that make Elena look like nothing. So I would say that she is nowhere near being banned, personally.
Yeah, go ahead. What you got, buddy?
I just think that a lot of this has to do with the aspect of how fun it is to watch. Because even in the Street Fighter 4 series, Elena is not the first character who is thought of as strong or overpowered. But of all those characters, she's the one that is objective, or I can't say objectively, but in most people's opinion, the least fun to watch. She plays such a lame style. You can't really do a whole lot against her. And the matches just drag on because healing! So.
The hypest moments in those matches, like when we've seen a lot of Elena this year, and I'm the one doing the GIF posts or the highlight posts for a lot of these tournaments on our site. And whenever it's an Elena post, 9 times out of 10, it's so-and-so used healing at the last minute, and we weren't sure who was going to win because the change in life, and we waited 99 seconds of, and then eventually something exciting happened at the very end, maybe. But, I mean, in rounds where we're waiting like 20 seconds, 30 seconds, and then it's over, if we're waiting 99 seconds for maybe something exciting, I can totally see what you're saying there. But I do want to ask you, did you play Third Strike, Steve?
I did not get into Third Strike.
Did anybody here play a lot of Third Strike? Is anyone a Third Strike connoisseur at all?
You know,
I've played it's a popular game in Austin. I know my decent share about the game.
Because I want to ask this. Elena was in Third Strike. Elena had healing in Third Strike, and I don't ever remember hearing that as a problem. I mean, I'm not a super big Third Strike guy, so I'm not the one to really be able to talk about this too much. But from my point of view, I go, well, this is not a new character. Like she's different for SF4, and that's probably where this whole controversy stems from. But she had healing in Third Strike, and it wasn't a huge deal. So I don't see where. I mean, maybe there's a very obvious place where this transition happened, where she became a monster.
I mean, she's a totally different character in a lot of ways. I think one thing people knew was going to be a problem from the beginning is you get healing and you get revenge meter in Street Fighter 4 as a result of being hit. Whereas Super Meter was a much more proactive thing to build. You tended to build Super as a result of winning the match or at least stalling out and whiffing normals.
So you're saying her Super should have been healing?
I'm not saying anything. I'm not a game balancer for Street Fighter 4. I'm just saying that's what's different. And I think, and this is kind of going aside your question, just what people are complaining about, and you obviously know this, with Elena is the one-dimensional style of her play. Her jab can be used to punish things that no other character can punish. It's extremely unrivaled in its speed and length, and it's made her straightforward. And we've seen Xian joke about it with talking about how jab's the only thing he does. And we've seen pretty much every Elena player play in a very similar fashion. So, yeah, I mean, did she become a bannable monster? I don't even know. Yeah, it's like, I think it's such a ridiculous discussion to ban her yet that it's not worth talking
obviously,
about.
Nobody thinks that she's going to be banned. Nobody legitimately thinks she'll be banned. It's ludicrous to think that she'll be banned for Capcom Cup, but people are already making jokes that it's going to be a top 8 Elena's. But let's see what the pros had to say. Gutex on Twitter said, maybe Elena has some bad matchups, but I really don't see how she's not overall strongest in the game. PR Rog said, I think Seth is the best character in the game, free, then Elena. And Alex Valle, the voice of reason, says, it's pointless to complain about Ultra Street Fighter 4 characters right now. Either find a way to beat them or be godlike in the mirror match. Does that kind of encapsulate how we should be thinking about this? Just get better at the game or figure out how to pick it or pick her up yourself?
Well, I think one of the things is that the hourglass is almost up for Ultra. And we really need more time to really figure out the character. I mean, I know game's been out for a year and a half, but if we were still playing this for another 2 years, this version, we would learn things. We would learn how, if there's a particular thing that can blow that up, and the metagame would develop. I think part of that is, it's going to be an incomplete meta that we're talking about going into the biggest show the game's ever seen, and probably the last big show that the game will ever see.
I have a theory. First of all, let's look at this image here. Look at this poor guy. This is Hanzo Gonzo's tweet about Luffy. Pretty sad when she's got B's but no beats. But before we move on to the next topic, is it possible that they threw in this slightly broken character so that people will shake off Street Fighter 4 and we can all transition to Street Fighter 5? All right. Danke says no. Moving on. The brackets are now locked in. Ace, you had one ready to go, and it ended up being completely accurate, and I'm excited about that. But what are we excited about here for a week from now, or a couple of days from now, actually?
We're excited. I'm excited for everything. I mean, you just go up and down this card. It is insanely stacked from top to bottom. I mean, you guys, we're talking about probably the easiest matchup being Infiltration versus Dako. Yeah, we're talking about Dako being probably having the worst matchup. As great as he is, he could 0-2 is a possibility for him. 0-2 is a possibility for someone like Itazan. 0-2 is a possibility for someone as good as a Gak or Dominion or Mise or basically anybody.
I would say Momochi too, man. I mean, I don't know any. Yeah, exactly. I don't think anyone's got a free ride here.
It's Momochi's versus RB, Punko versus Itabashi Zangief, Fudo versus Human Bomb. I mean, there's going to be a lot of bloodshed.
Nothing's been close to this at all. But yeah, keep going, Steven.
Yeah, what you got, Steve?
Oh, no, I was just going to say this is all killer, no filler.
What are you excited about, John?
Well, I'm looking it over here, and yeah, the reality of the situation is, what is it, like eight of these guys or so are going to go 0-2, 4 or 8. I don't know the math off the top of my head, but it's the 32 best of the year. It's going to be a roller coaster, man. And well, we made a poll for the first round of the event where people could vote. And something interesting came up in the comments. A lot of people were just voting for the upsets that they want to see. Like I want to see, even though I don't think that RB is going to beat Momochi, I don't think that Dako is going to be Infiltration. I'm going to vote for him because what happens when that kind of thing happens? I mean, there's 16 first round matches, and there's kind of a lot of clear cut winners. Are all of those guys going to win? Probably not. So, like, it's going to be crazy, And the minute something like someone throws a wrench into the works and throws Momochi in a loser's bracket, it's exciting. It's really exciting to be waiting for, and it's going to be a good time.
One of the interesting things about the format to me is that, you can compare it to the NCAA tournament, but the NCAA tournament has specific conferences that get automatic bids. So, you have these, teams in much, much weaker conferences. They come in as the 16 seed, and they lose every single time. A 16 seed has never, ever beaten a 1 seed. But in the Capcom Cup, you can fly to Dubai or fly to Brazil, although that didn't work this year, fly to a variety of different countries and just win and take it over. So, I mean, pretty much everyone in here is, top of the line. There's no, weaker conference tournaments anymore. The players in Street Fighter 4 are flying out to any event that can get them into this tournament.
You mentioned Brazil. You could go out to Brazil, or you could go to tournaments and try to qualify. Steve, if you would, we wanted to put together a small list of the almost made it. We spoke to Ryan Hart earlier in the show. He was not the only one. Can you tell us some of those guys that were on the bubble and didn't make it, Steve?
Well, you mentioned Ryan Hart. He was a guy who was so close. He had a chance to qualify at Milan Games Week, where he was facing RB to get into top 3, and the other 2 players, Fudo and Xian, were already qualified. So he was that close to getting it. PR Balrog, he ended up the next guy out on points. And there were a couple matches where he was 1 win away. I mean, at Puerto Rico, if he would have gotten second there instead of third, he'd probably be in right now. You've got Haitani, who went out to Brazil and lost to Kioma. Had he won that one matchup, he'd be in, obviously. There's just so many good players, like Sako. I mean, he didn't get close in the points, but godlike player isn't in there. They're just everyone. There's not enough.
Exactly. I mean, it's just like, can you imagine I thought a guy like Pierre Rog or a guy like Ryan Hart, even a guy like K-Brad, they were going out to so many tournaments. Like, okay, if you're not going to win a major, or if you're not going to win one of these premier events, then clearly if you go to all these events, you're going to score enough points, and it didn't happen.
Yeah, I mean, and I would like to ask a question, I guess, which is, do people like the idea that you can fly across the country to enter these qualifiers? MKX for the ESL had very specific countries that got, spots into the game. We talked about the NCAA tournament. Should people be allowed to do that? Should we have specific berths for specific regions so that we get to see a wider variety? Are we worried about Korea or Japan eventually taking over entirely? I mean, what's the deal with that?
John, what do you think?
I'm sorry, you guys are breaking up a little bit.
The question is,
travel?
In other esports, they have the regions, right? And you compete in the North American region or the EU region or the Asia region. What would something like that look like in the FGC? Or for the Capcom Pro Tour in specific?
I mean, so we have just the qualifier from North America, and then we're representing that entire area, and the qualifier from another region representing that entire region and such. And is that what you're? Yeah,
I'm wondering if people want that, because that's how it is, and as I said in the tournament, that's how it is in various other esports.
Not. I would hope not, because it's so heavily weighted. You might have the best guy coming out of, say, Japan, or maybe Japan would be broken up into into smaller groups. But I mean, there's so much Japan has to offer compared to other places that don't have as many top players, at least not yet. And I wouldn't want to see the best guy out of Iceland playing be on par with the best guy out of Japan, or the best guy out of some European bracket, when we know there's 15 guys down the bench in that one area playing just some guy out of Iceland that no one's really heard about, but he was the best there.
To your point,
so
go ahead.
No, that's fine.
To your point, John, Ryan, I don't know if he said during the interview or right prior to it, or maybe it was a tweet, but he basically said, I did feel salty about losing to somebody who had already qualified, and I think he was referring to Xian. But if I can't beat him, what business do I have at Capcom Cup, right? So the question being, do you want all the best American players? Hey, great. We have qualifiers from the Americas region and a qualifier from the EU region, and then we go to Capcom Cup and the Asian players just destroy them. That could be a possibility.
With Ryan's thinking there, I understand, yes, you need to be technically able to beat everybody, but we're also talking about a huge prize pot, and we're talking about a bracket. Not everyone's going to play everyone. You're going to play 8 guys, if you play through winners or whatever, and it's not about being able to beat everyone. It's about being able to get through your bracket and win it. Maybe just because of a bad matchup, someone that was not very likely to win is going to take it all because they get lucky with how the players around them do, and they get an easier ride. And it's really not about beating everybody. Sure, that would be a purist way of thinking about it. It's not a round robin though. So no, I want, even if I'm not the best, if I'm in Capcom Cup, I'm going to play my hardest and hope for the best luck I can get, and maybe I can take home that huge prize pot. It's not about being able to beat Shen. It's about being able to beat the guys in front of me.
John, in the chat, they want to know, what's your beef with Iceland? Why do you have a problem with Iceland? What type of shit? Saying that they're free.
Iceland, oh man, we go way back. Basically, I used to have a partner. A guy from Iceland killed my partner, and now I'm on this huge vengeance track. It's ugly.
Steve, you were going to say something. I'm sorry, I cut you off.
I was going to say, for the other part of this is the tournament organizers. Do you really want to tell Jabali, hey, I know you got a great event. I know you want to bring in a lot of international people to try and get some attention. But no, Kazunoko can't come. Daigo can't come. Luffy can't come. Do you want to tell them that? What I would like to see, you saw the format in Asia Finals where you had winners of some of these smaller events go to a final round robin tournament where it almost guaranteed that an Asian player would qualify. I'd like to see one of those in the U.S. and one of those in Europe, to give some of these people who may not necessarily get to travel to all of these events. If you can do well at one here, you at least earn the shot to get into the big dance.
Sure. That's fair.
Guys, we're wrapping up the show. We still have the interview that I did approximately 12 hours ago this morning with Xian right before he hopped a plane to San Francisco. But we're actually very excited about something, and I want to tease it now, and that is that on Saturday, the day before Capcom Cup, we're going to do a long stream where we're going to talk about the entire bracket. We're going to run it down. We're going to have sound bites from the players talking about how they feel about their match. We're going to have Steve on there. Unfortunately, John can't join us because, poor baby, he's going to be at Capcom Cup. So I don't feel bad for you, John.
Sorry for that.
And we're also going to have a special guest, and I'll go ahead and reveal who it is. It is Hamad. Hamad is one of the best players in Texas, and he's also played against a lot of these guys. And just to blow a little more smoke up that guy's butt and give him a bigger ego, Justin Wong wanted him to fly to San Francisco to help him train, just to give you, a bit of a pedigree on this guy. So we're very excited for that show. We hope you tune in at this 6 o'clock hour again, or 6 in Texas, 7 Eastern time, I think. That's this Saturday, the day before Capcom Cup, and we're very excited about it. So, and there will also be call-in, so you can call in and tell us how stupid we are for our predictions that we're making. But final thoughts, guys. Of course, this is potentially the last hurrah for Street Fighter 4 in as much weight as it gets now.
It's definitely the biggest Street Fighter 4 tournament that will ever happen again, and probably that ever happened, period. So, yeah, I mean, if you're a fan of the game, this is the weekend.
Absolutely. I'm pumped. Any final thoughts, guys, before we transition to our pre-recorded Xian interview?
Yeah, when you guys see Hamad, tell him Raptor says he's free.
And
if he has a problem with that, we'll just look at tournament results.
You're just going to put him on the list next to the guy that killed your partner in Iceland. Hamad is next.
Yes.
Yo, wait, time out. You beat Hamad in a tournament?
I've never lost to Hamad. I don't think I've lost, I might have lost a few rounds to Hamad in casuals, but I don't think I've ever lost a whole match to him.
Okay, well, I'll make sure that he knows that on the day that you can't be on the show, you have shit to talk about him.
Absolutely. Yes. Perfect time.
All right, perfect, guys. Thank you so much for joining us. As always, we'll be here again next week. Don't go anywhere. We're about to roll the interview with Xian, and I'm telling you, it's a good one. He says a lot of juicy things. He talks about infiltration. He talks about matchups. He talks about Capcom Cup and a couple other things. So, thank you for joining us for the live portion of the show. Please enjoy the debut of the Xian interview. Here in Texas, it's 8 in the morning, and that's why you don't see Danke or anybody else on the set. That's because they have day jobs. But I'm here, and I'm ready to interview Kun Xian. Xian, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you so much for inviting me. Yeah.
So, Xian, first question off the bat. I mean, you're coming off fresh off that victory from DreamHack. How did you succeed at DreamHack? And we'll get into questions about character choice in a second, but how did you feel you did?
I think I'm really happy with my performance because I went all the way from the winner's bracket. Mm-hmm. And I think one of the most important part was I picked Elena. Helped me a lot in this trip.
Well, that's the thing, everybody, and it's become a hot topic, right? I mean, people have been grumbling about Elena for a while now, but specifically in this tournament, if I'm not mistaken, you said, I'm not going to pick Elena because I want to win with Gen, and then, of course, you did use Elena. I certainly don't fault you for it, but some people are upset by that. How do you respond to that criticism?
Regarding to that, I did the interview before I played Phantom in the winners final, and I actually really wanted to win with Gen because I know the Bison matchup actually better with Gen, but I was dropping a lot of combos as I'm playing with him, and being down 2-1 at the moment, I felt that it's a safe bet to go for the win by picking Elena because I think he doesn't have a counterpick characters. So I think I just like the money more on that day. Exactly,
right? At the end of the day, you're there to win a tournament, and there's no reason why you wouldn't pick that. It's another tool in your arsenal. Again, though, people are upset about Elena. Do you think that Elena is a problem in this game? I mean, to the degree that they're saying that she should be banned, some people are calling for her to be banned from the Capcom Cup. Nobody thinks that's going to happen, of course. But, I mean, is Elena a problem?
Elena is definitely a problem. In this game, I felt that there's two problems. One is Elena, and second is Ivaru.
Really?
Yes. I felt that these two are S-tier characters in the game that actually a little bit stronger than the rest of the cast. And however, I don't think it's that big of a problem that it needs to be banned. Like same for Evil because it's still not. It still have like bad matchups against some characters, but it's really good for using as a counter pick. Like you can see that no one actually really mains Elena in Capcom Cup because Elena doesn't do good against all the characters. You know, the bad matchups are pretty bad, like Seth, you know, but the good matchups are really good. So everyone figure out, you know, it's good to just pick him as a counter pick against some matchup rather than just maining her as a character, and because it's really easy to pick up as well.
So she's like the ultimate pocket character?
Yes, definitely. But to main her as to use her just for main, I think it's not that good because she will still run into matchups that are not so favorable for her.
Now, Xian, you know, we're talking about character choices. You use quite a few characters. You have a Poison, again, of course, which is who you're known for, and more recently, of course, the Elena. Do you have any other pocket characters or any other secret characters that you've been saving? Is that even a thing that people do, is save characters and save tech for Capcom Cup?
I think a lot of people is doing that. I think I did that pretty much last year. I saved a Dhalsim last year, besides the 4 characters that 3 characters you just said, Poison, Gen, Elena. I saved a Dhalsim last year as a surprise against Daigo. And this year, I maybe don't have that much of a surprise, but I did more regarding the more hidden techniques with the characters that I have.
I see.
So I try to explore more on the matchup for these few characters rather than choosing another counter pick. But I do still have some backup, you know, if something happens. So we will just see if I manage to meet the opponents then.
So we will only see it if somebody forces you to bring it out. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, because right now in my bracket, I don't think that's going to happen.
You're the only person that won 4 Capcom Pro Tour events, and 3 of those were Premier events, which tend to be a little more stacked. And now I'm hearing you say that you're saving tech. How did you pull it off? How do you feel your season went, and how did you pull that off?
I think because Elena did a big part. Because I don't have anything. I didn't save anything with Elena. Everyone knows about his healing, his mix-ups, but it's just hard to deal with. And most of the people are not familiar with the Elena matchup, besides Japanese. I think Japanese are more familiar with the Elena matchup in general, but from other countries, usually it's easier to pick Elena against them. So I didn't save much for Elena, but for the rest of the characters, I managed to save a lot of text because Elena just came out to save the day always.
Well, speaking of Elena, right, the Capcom Cup is in a couple of days. And it looks like your first match is going to be up against French Chun-Li main Valmaster. If I'm not mistaken, Chun is a counter to Elena, or is that not the case?
Yes, Chun-Li is one of the better picks against Elena. And yes, I'm not going to pick Elena against Chun-Li, for sure.
Well, let's talk about that match. So your first match is Valmaster. What are your thoughts? Do you have a game plan? Are you worried? Or is that like easy? What's my next match? Let's hear it from you.
I'm a little bit worried about Valmaster this time because I have beaten him the last 2 times we met in a few tournaments, Capcom Cup last year and Red Bull Kumite, and we played some casuals at EVO as well. Every time I play him, he gets better and better at the matchup against Poison. So I may actually have a surprise for him if things goes wrong.
Is that man? I want in on it, Xian. Is that a new tech with Gen? Is that a new character?
I'm not revealing that yet though. We'll see in Capcom Cup.
I figured I would try though. Okay. So we're all very excited for the Capcom Cup. Other than you, people think that you were very likely to win it, but the other name that keeps floating around is your new teammate, Infiltration. That Infiltration has a very good shot at winning this. I'd like to take a step back here before you give me your opinion on that and ask you about getting Infiltration on Team Razor. We had a discussion back and forth here on one of our previous episodes as to whether it even matters what team you're on, because it's still largely an individual, event or thing that you're doing here. You're fighting against one other person, not like a League of Legends where you're on a team of 5 versus another team of 5. How do you feel about that? What does Team Razor gain by having all these sponsored players on there? Obviously brand recognition, but I mean as far as the team of competitors.
I think Infiltration, let's just say about Infiltration, he actually adds a lot of the variety and personality to Team Razor, because he's a very charisma and interesting and funny streamer, and he has been one of a very dominating champion in the past. He has won Evo, and right now him being on Team Razor means I can actually practice with him during Capcom Cup when I went to San Francisco, since we are now teammates. So we can actually help each other to practice on the different matchups, because he played almost all the characters. And I don't know that I can help him much, but he's definitely a great help for me and Team Razor.
At what point do you have to stop being a teammate and start being, you potentially might face Infiltration at Capcom Cup, so you don't want to give away all your tech. How do you toe that line without going too much this way or too much that way? Obviously, it seems like you want to help your teammates, but again, they're potentially your competitors.
I feel for that, because the Capcom Cup brackets are kind of already out, I won't be pretty much facing Infiltration unless we both get into the winners final, which is really, really far away. So for now, I would not think of, if I have to face him. We will just help each other train for the matchup that we know each other will be facing. And other than that, if we face each other in the tournament, I think we'll probably just blind pick, since we know the counter to each of our characters, and just see how it goes.
Well,
I will be happy if he wins. I will be happy and cheering for him if he wins.
Well, that's good to hear. But, in last year's Capcom Cup and in the previous years, which was kind of like that 25th anniversary one, you got second place at both of those. First, you lost to Sako, and then last year to Momochi. How are you gonna change that this time? I mean, we don't want to see a second place again, do you?
Yeah, I don't want to get a second place again too. Regarding Sako, I think I don't have to do anything, since since he didn't have time for Capcom Cup this year. So he didn't qualify. And for Momochi, I have actually practiced a lot, because last year I didn't anticipate that he would climb all the way back to the losers final, and she's a really scary opponent. So this year I try to make some measures for him, since he's near my brackets, and we will see if I manage to meet him. I'm looking forward to play against him again.
Xian, it's very early in America, but we do have some people here in the chat, and actually it's Steven Jurek who just put out an article about you for the Daily Dot, and he's asking for you to please bring out your Pocket Dan. Is that something that you're going to bust out at Capcom Cup?
Unfortunately, no. I don't have a Pocket Dan.
Xian, that's a joke question. But, we were talking about your tournament season. You had the best tournament season if you want to consider that you got the 3 premier events and all that. But I read an article that Michael Martin put out for Red Bull, and in there you discussed that you went through a little bit of a slump, and you were kind of not burning out, but struggling to evolve or to get better, and you didn't know what to fix, and that it was kind of bringing you down. And that leads me to a question here that we got from the Street Fighter subreddit. The Movie Bear asks, I'd like to know if Xian has ever had a moment of profound disappointment which made him reconsider playing Street Fighter as a job, how he handled it, and how it might have changed him as a player.
Yes, I definitely have this moment, and I can still remember it clearly when is the moment, and it will be near the end of 2013.
Okay.
That's where the year I won Evo and get second place after losing to Sakonoko. Because at that point of time, the prize money is really low for Evo and Capcom Cup. And I think I won more than 8 major tournaments during that year, you know, and it didn't really allow me to have enough money to pursue my career as a pro gamer. So at that point, it was really disappointing that I was really depressed because I worked really hard for it, and I felt that if I get second place for the biggest event and Evolution, and then first place for the biggest event, and won CEO and so many tournaments in America, and I'm not even able to make a decent living, why should I continue this path? You know, but at that moment, Team Razer came in and got me a sponsorship. So from that point on, I think my depression stops.
Oh, really? So that's all it took, right? I mean, but the thing is, I mean, somebody can make the argument, oh, is it all about the money? No, but you want to be able to follow your passion, and if you can't, you can't. In this case, you're saying that the sponsorship remedied that problem for you.
Yes.
Let's talk about that going forward, though. The prize money, right? It seems to be growing in fighting games. It looks like next year is going to be a big year. Of course, the big question, and actually we had a question here again from the subreddit. Galaxian asks, how do you feel about Street Fighter V so far? What appeals to you about the game if you've had a chance to play it?
I think the last time I played was in E3 and one of the event in Asia. I only get to play one. E3 I played it a lot more, and I only get to play 1-2 games in another event. I didn't get much because the changes from the E3 is pretty much a lot, and now Eric has a lot more characters like Rashid, Vega. But in Stockholm, just a few days ago, I managed to play some Street Fighter V, and I play only Dhalsim.
Oh, really?
And, yes, I play actually only Dhalsim for the whole day, like 3 hours of Dhalsim, and that makes me really interested in the game now because I actually really like how Dhalsim is designed. You know, at the start, everyone was just telling me, oh, he's really, really weak, you know, but I kind of figure out a way to play him, and it's actually really fun. So I actually quite looking forward to playing Dhalsim in the next whatever place that I get to play Street Fighter V again.
That's interesting to hear because we had heard from guys like F-Champ, not that he didn't like Dhalsim, but that he's not the same Dhalsim. But you're saying that it doesn't matter, you like this new Dhalsim?
Yes, because I think this new Dhalsim doesn't allow you to throw fireball anymore.
Really? I mean, he's got that weird little, he spits it up at an arc. How does that change how the character plays?
I think he should use a lot more slide and jumping, you know, the floating move that stuck in the air and pressing a lot of buttons. The fireball is really useless because it's a really weird shape, like an N shape. The way they throw the fireball is too slow. So there's almost not much situation you can use the fireball.
So Xian, what I had been leading up to was, esports in 2016 for fighting games. What do you see happening now with the Capcom Pro Tour taking in Street Fighter V, which if you hear the guys at Capcom say, like Matt Dahlgren, who's the director of esports for Capcom, he said the Capcom Pro Tour was designed for Street Fighter V, and these have been, basically test runs. So how do you feel about Street Fighter V and the Capcom Pro Tour and where we're headed next year?
That makes me really excited that he said that. I saw the interview, and the statement, and that makes me feel like if 5 is gonna be the real Pro Tour with more money or even the same money, and all these events happening like this year, I would definitely head out to every country, and I would drop Street Fighter 4 after this. And I'm really looking forward to 5 because now I find 5 really fun, and 4 has been a long time for everyone and for me as well. So I look forward to playing this new game and bring it to the top again.
You lead me to another question from the subreddit here. You play more than one game. You're known for, King of Fighters and a ton of other games as well. And we have a question here from God of Noobs, and he asks, since Xian is capable of playing multiple fighting games at a high level, what does he think about Snake Eyes' comment regarding the top Street Fighter 4 players being the strongest out of all fighting games?
Unfortunately, I don't agree with his comment. I think Snake Eyes is a very good player, but I played really good King of Fighter players in my life and Marvel players. I played Guilty Gear players as well. I think every different games possess a different skill set. Like I actually apply some Marvel, King of Fighter, and Guilty Gear, some of the skill set into my Street Fighter to where am I today. While different games have different skill sets to make you a top player, Street Fighter requires a different skill set as well. So I definitely don't agree. And also because Street Fighter player generally does that well in other games as well. So it's really hard to say that Street Fighter players are the top level. I mean, Street Fighter players always tend to say that they will do well in other fighting games if they put their effort, in other games. But usually, you can actually see that there's actually not much top Street Fighter players that did that well in other games. I feel that more King of Fighter players that hop into Street Fighter are becoming the top players. While there are still